Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our next edition of our 49er Industry Chats. My name is Noemi Guevara, the Director of Alumni Engagement at California State University, Long Beach. Before we start our great session today, I would like to let you know this is being recorded and it will live on our website at csulb.edu/alumni for your viewing at any time. Also, during our webinar today, at any time, if you have any questions for our guest speaker today, please make sure that you use our Q&A box below. That allows us to moderate the questions and make sure that all your questions get answered. And now I would like to introduce your moderator, Lucia Cos, who graduated in 1975 from the College of Liberal Arts with a degree in Spanish. She was recognized as a distinguished alumna in 2005 and currently serves on our CSUB Alumni Council board. Thank you, Lucia, for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Great, welcome. Anna Burton is a two-time CSULB alum. She earned a BS in Criminal Justice Administration and then an MPA in Public Administration. Her career includes posts with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, Emergency Management Division, the City of Los Angeles Emergency Management Department, Los Angeles World Airports Emergency Management Division, and the Port of Los Angeles Emergency Management Division. In her efforts to make communities more prepared for disasters, she has built a network of partners with large and small agencies across the country and around the globe. Anna is a member of the Business and Industry Council for Emergency Planning and Preparedness. She is the membership chair for the Earthquake Country Alliance, the agency leading the Shakeout exercise, and she is active in Southern California Women in Homeland Security. Leading our industry chat today, please welcome Anna Burton.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. I was really excited when I saw this because I do feel such a close affiliation with Long Beach State. It was such a great place to go to school, and it's interesting is that from both my criminal justice and my MPA, I'm able to put that classroom learning and that hands-on learning to work and understand the terms, and just exciting being able to use my degrees and all of my classroom studies hands-on, going through drive-alongs when I was in school, going through tours, and seeing everything. And what I think is interesting and unique in my situation, I started with the City of Los Angeles in 1986 in our Recreation and Parks Department. And I have a map right behind me, and that's where I started. I worked for the Recreation and Parks the year the city took back Cabrillo Beach. So I've come full circle in 34 years in a number of different positions, all focused on really public safety and community preparedness, working with both our local, our elected offices, our state, our federal, all the different agencies to put plans together and to find out how we can make sure that we're all prepared for disaster or emergency or a crisis, whatever that looks like, whether it's what we're experiencing now with COVID, with pandemic. It is, hugely impactful for how we're doing, our jobs now, but being able to put those practices in place from previous pandemic. It was H1N1, it was bird flu, it was Ebola, and gathering and building those networks has been so critical to really what we do today. So with a variety of different departments, spending time with the city of Dana Point, with Orange County, with the city of Los Angeles and its various departments, is being able to take all of that networking and that building and understanding of the organization that you work with. So you work in it, but you also work with it. And you have to be able to understand who's available to you to help you build your career. And that was one of the things I really wanted to touch on is mentorship, is finding those mentors in your career. And I've had so many, those individuals that, did I just freeze?
I think you did, but we can hear you, so
okay.
Keep going.
Let me, if I need to reboot in any way, just let me know.
Yeah, as long as we can hear you, I think it's okay.
Okay. So some mentorship in the various agencies and organizations. is finding out, who's available, who can help you, and in what agencies they are, so that they can help you build your network, help you build, what training that you need. And so when it comes to training, is take every opportunity to take training classes, to find out, what classes are available, where you can take them, if they're local, if they're state, if they're federal, if they're with a local nonprofit. And those mentors can help you identify where they are.
Anna, did you start with mentors early on when you were still at college?
I didn't realize that it was mentors. It was internal and external. So, and I'm just trying to see if I can join here from a different.
There you go. We got you.
Okay. So if being able to, and as I said, I didn't really realize they were mentors. I started developing friendships, and I hope Anna Cave, who's in Texas right now, she was one of the mentors, and it was one of those people I admired, and it was just coincidentally, I was Anna Day at the time, and she was Anna Cave, both in Orange County, and it was, she saw me and we kind of worked together, and then different friendships built in different agencies that I worked with. And because one of the things that I really believe in is staying connected with different networks, whether it be the Bicep company that was founded by Mayor Tom Bradley, or Earthquake Country Alliance, or Emergency Network Los Angeles for nonprofits, or Women in Homeland Security specifically, is as you continue to identify individuals in different agencies and organizations, you'll find where these networks are. Specific to emergency management, we have the California Emergency Services Association, and then we have the International Association of Emergency Managers. Those are people and agencies and jurisdictions across the country and the world that have your same passion, that have your same mission. And so you can join those organizations to really, when you're in a situation where you need something, whether it be a new plan, like for a pandemic, or you have something unique to your community, or if you're at the airport, you need port specific. If you're at an ocean port, you need, that type of information that's unique to that situation. Ask your connections who's got something. People have been doing this for years now, so you're not unique. And if you don't have it, who does have it? Who's been working on it? Who's done it before? And if you gather all of that information, you can really build your own, information library that you can refer to, whether it be if you have to draft a new plan, if you have to do an after action report, if you have to travel to a new city, what are they doing? If you have to go out to bid to get a new software system, a new EOC information management system, or if you need to buy equipment to help you in your response for your sworn or your civilians, who's doing something new and inventive? Who's installing new equipment? Who's using new software? And how do they like it? Does it work for them? Is their jurisdiction may be completely different than ours here in the Los Angeles city area, but they have lessons that they've learned, whether it be equipment or software or people or training. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Really, that's one of the things, is always ask for help.
Anna, one of our listeners asked, is it possible to get a list of all those awesome groups that you just listed?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. And I noticed on your LinkedIn site that you were very involved with the Red Cross, and I would think that they're involved with everybody.
The Red
Another
Cross,
way to make connections.
The Red Cross is amazing, and I hope Andrea Davis is listening. She was here locally. She worked for Disney at the time, but she was on the board, and Disney supported the Red Cross through resiliency campaigns. We have an amazing local Red Cross that has really, they've changed the way they do business here in Los Angeles, but friendships and organizations and drives and training and how we have relied on them traditionally to do shelters, they've had to remodel and change how they've done things. But You know, their mission, one of them is, you know, blood drives, and their success story is staying and doing what they do best. You know, they do blood drives, they help people in times of need. They are there 24/7 when you have either, you know, a house fire or an apartment fire, or to set up a shelter for an evacuation. And their volunteers are just committed, and they do it from the heart. And they've not branched out too far because they know that, you know, the scope of what they have to do at any time has to remain their primary focus. And they do it very well.
So for some of our younger alum, because I know you're going to provide a list somehow, and we can talk about that later. The list someone asked for, but is the Red Cross a good one to start with if you're a young alum in terms of volunteering and making connections there and networking and getting involved and finding out about some of these other organizations?
You know, I think every Red Cross chapter has different volunteer opportunities, but absolutely. I know in the city, we've had many Red Cross volunteers that have then progressed into paid positions, and then they build that network. They get to know this jurisdiction they're in. They get to understand the role that the nonprofits, like the Red Cross, play with government. And then they can find out other opportunities that are available. Internships. Many local cities and counties have internships, some paid, some not, that allow somebody to come in and work and get to understand, you know, the kind of organization that you might be working in. And some find it rewarding and, you know, and just really, you know, uplifting. And some find, and it's good that you find out, maybe it's not for them. Emergency management has changed. It's not an office job. Many organizations, you know, expect you to be first responders, non-sworn for first responders, but 24/7. Carry a radio, carry a satellite phone, you have a vehicle in some cases, and you go to the field and the command post to help and be a participant in that decision-making process. I know we have fires today up in the Lake Hughes area, and this is, you know, today is not going to be the same as tomorrow, and it never has been. You know, the world is changing with climate change and with population change and with sea level rise. It's always very exciting, and we've come so far from, you know, the Northridge earthquake in '94 to 9/11 and to catastrophic fires and catastrophic, you know, storms and hurricanes and you know, Katrina and Sandy and now where we are today. And not to mention, you know, while we're speaking, they have, you know, hurricanes that are, you know, devastating. We have tornadoes, we have fires, we've experienced earthquakes in the past month. So it's knowing, you know, and being ready to go. And one of the things I heard, and I never heard it early on in my career, but is, what is your personal vision? In one of my trainings, you know, the instructor made us write down, what is your personal vision? You know, organizations have visions. Where do they want to be in 5, 10, 20 years? That long-term thinking of where do you want to be? And with that, if you have an idea, you know, what is your long-term vision? And how do your professional goals and your personal goals tie together to help you meet that? Can you relocate? Are you willing to relocate? You know, can your family afford you to get up and leave at any time? And I really, having those discussions with somebody early on in their career, I think will help them understand where they can go. And I have colleagues that have said, I'm never leaving here. This is where my family is. I love, this is my home. This is my community. And I have others, and I know you hear me if you're on the call, is that I'm ready to go because that's the job I want. That's the job I've always wanted. That's where I want to be sometime in my career. And I'm willing to drop everything I have at, you know, a moment's notice if they come calling on me. And that's something, if you know that's what you might want to do, you know, then go for it. Talk to people of what they've done to get there. You know, what are the steps? What are the training? Who do you need to know? What do you need to know about, whether it be an organization or a rule or a policy or something else? And it's fun being part of that group that's so diverse.
Yeah, Anna, we have another question, and this is for, she says, that she is an older returning student, and she just earned her MPA in May. So she's on the job hunt. It's rough out there right now anyway because of the pandemic, but she doesn't have any public sector service experience. So she's finding it difficult to break into the public sector world. And she's got a lengthy work history and credentials, but even internships are hard at this point. So do you have any tips on what to say on a cover letter that could help her kind of stand out in that hiring process?
Well, I think if it's related to an emergency management position, you can look for reports or incidents that have occurred within that jurisdiction, and then see how the skills that you have would tie into what they do. You know, if you understand fires and they've had fires in that area, you can share how valuable you are to what they're trying to accomplish. And the good thing about government is you can go in and you can look at their budgets. You can look at, you know, what their goals are and their long-term plans, and whether it be their budget documents or through, you know, their elected offices, what are they trying to achieve, and relate to what they're trying to accomplish.
The other thing she mentioned is that she did complete the FEMA coursework. And but are there any other certs that she should aim for?
Well, FEMA has online independent study courses, and they're free, and you can take literally hundreds of classes at any time, as well as, you know, the Red Cross courses and so forth. And now we have, you know, undergraduate and graduate, whether they're certificate degrees or anything, you know, masters and, you know, higher level educational, you know, degrees and certificates related to whether it be homeland security, emergency management, crisis management, and the skills that tie into what we do today. You know, GIS, you know, understanding how, you know, geographical information systems support how we respond and recover. Economy, you know, the fiscal, and then if you find somebody, you know, like someone, myself or someone in my position, whether it be through LinkedIn or Women in Homeland Security, who they know where the jobs are. We get constant notices of, you know, upcoming. There's going to be a large number of folks who are going to be retiring, who I started with, and so there's going to be, you know, the backfill, and some agencies have, you know, lengthy exams and lists. Some agencies that are small, they hire off the street. They have that one person that does everything. And so ask, you know, people who have been doing it, you know, what does that one city expect their emergency manager to do? And we can help you navigate that. In a big city with 20 emergency managers, it's broken down. If you're in one city and you are the person, you will be doing all the planning, all the training. You'll develop the exercises. You'll be responsible for your EOC, all of your communications. That might be too much to start. It might be exactly what you want to do. And we can help you discuss, you know, what that emergency management program might look like. And if they've gone through the FEMA classes, they understand that comprehensive emergency management program.
Well, Anna, you're probably going to get some good hits on your LinkedIn page.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it.
I have another person that said, who do you think should take CERT training?
CERT was built, you know, through our LA City Fire Department. We're very proud of that. And it was originally built as to support and augment a fire department. So if you trained with a team, your team showed up at that fire station in times of crisis to help and to be that secondary support as the sworn folks did their job. They were, you know, they were there, and they were told and trained to support their community, because if we have a big event, there's never going to be enough fire, apparatus or individuals to cover every community. So if you're a position now where you can support that team, or you can be one member of that team, absolutely, you know, take that training. It's 17 and a half hours. It covers just everything, you know, search and rescue, first aid, communications. But if you're somebody like me as a professional emergency manager, I'm not able to be on a team because my primary mission is to support the Port of Los Angeles. So when we have a disaster or an explosion or a flood or a tsunami, or even an event, an affair a week on, you know, the weekend to educate our communities, I can't respond to a CERT team. My first responsibility has to be one to my family and then to my job. And so if you have the time to be on a CERT team, it's great training, but understand the expectations of what might be asked of you. And so but it's an amazing program and you can take it. It's offered free if you're in cities that offer it. You can hire professionals to come in and teach your business team. If you're in a large building and your company has the entire building, then a CERT team in that building would be ideal. And that would be your job if you're there, to search the floors, to communicate, to educate all the employees, and to make sure, the number one thing is make sure everyone makes it out safely, because we all come in, but we all need to go home at the end of the day as well.
So do you have like a top 2 or 3 organizations that you would recommend to volunteer with, so that they can use not only for the experience, but also that would look good, help them in application process?
As we've said, the Red Cross is always good. In terms of volunteering for a nonprofit, the Salvation Army has a very strong volunteer program. And there are others, Team Rubicon for veterans. There are, and I think it's hard is some organizations are very, they're specific to where they are. So if you're in the Valley or, and because we're speaking to a broad audience across all of Los Angeles and maybe Orange County or beyond, is that, look for the agency that supports the organization. And don't be afraid to call the most local emergency management agency and says, what is your largest nonprofit that helps you in disaster? Or do you have a volunteer team that you work with now that helps you? And contact them directly. It's, you can make the guesses, but, go to where the information is and don't be afraid to ask them, and tell them, I want to volunteer locally so that I can become prepared to apply for a job in your organization. And they really enjoy getting that kind of interest and, participation from the community.
So can I ask you a couple of questions in terms of what you studied? In terms of the Criminal Justice Administration, degree and the Public Administration degree, what do you think are the top things that you learned in the classroom that have really helped you now in getting these kinds of jobs or in doing the job that you do?
For my criminal justice degree, because emergency management it crosses all the boundaries of every department, with recreation and parks, with libraries, with public works and services. But that helped me understand the agency culture, is that it shared, not just the lingo, the language, the terminology, which then has benefited me throughout my career. But in public policy, I think one of the most valuable things, as interesting, was the budget process. Is that, learning what a process looks like, and then actually seeing agencies apply that really helped me understand how departments grew, and when they had to then, reduce their size, the HR implications, when you hire people or, promote and train. It's all tied to the budget. And I think that was one of the most valuable classes from a public manager's perspective, that you can relate to how, your budgetary department in your jurisdiction works, and how it's tied to everything, and how you track money and revenue and expenses and allocations. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and do you look at like overall project management kind of know-how? I mean, in terms of different kinds of training that you look for?
We didn't have a lot of project management studying during the studies, but applying that later with the city's emergency management department for some of our large-scale projects was invaluable. My general manager at the time, Jim Featherstone, who then became the president of the Homeland Security Advisory Council, he brought that to us and instilled the value of what a good project management tool should look like, and then requiring us to use it for multi-year programs that require, tracking and punch cards and contract management and supervision and personnel, that really helped me in then looking at when I come in and we have a new assignment. It's not just a task, it's a project. And so let's detail it out, whether it takes us, a week, a month, or a year. It helps you navigate and manage your time, your budget, your people, so that it doesn't become overwhelming or underwhelming. You cannot be busy enough, and if you lay it out, you could ask for more or you can see how different things can play into it and really expand. But most importantly, keeping you on track. What were you hired for? We weren't just hired so there'd be bodies in the building. We were hired to do a job. And when you come into a job, you make sure you understand what that is. And for emergency managers, it's clear, is making sure your agency is prepared for disaster. Whether it be all the above, your employees, your personnel, your community, your policies, so that you're prepared to deal with it today, and then tomorrow after it happens, getting back to public service. This is public service. That's, if you understand when you're in government, that's why you're here. You'll find it very rewarding.
So Anna, are you at the port right now?
Yes, I have a beautiful office in the Los Angeles Port Police building. It's a new building. And although we're in the Port Police division of the department, we support the entire harbor department. So we have construction and maintenance and executives. We have a board. We have over 1,000 employees. We also have all of our tenants and our stakeholders. The cruise lines aren't operating right now, but we have to make sure our entire port complex, and it's the Los Angeles Long Beach complex, is that we're prepared for cargo ships. So we have huge environmental concerns, huge security concerns, homeland security, maritime. We partner with our Coast Guard and our Customs and our Long Beach Police and our Long Beach Emergency Management, and all of the community as well. We have, we're neighbors to our residents, to our businesses. So we want to make sure that we connect with them. We have a school that is, immediately our parking lot is attached. So we have children, we have daycare. It's the entire community, the whole of community, so that we can get the harbor. And our mission is to make sure that the ships are moving and, people are getting what they need to come in and out of the port. And it's a big port.
Now, I can see where you worked before this really helped you be able to do what you're doing at the port. What is the major concerns around COVID with the port right now?
The port is very fortunate is that we have amazing executive managers that support and recognize the value of employees. And they say that all the time. So that within the police department, the essential personnel have to come in and they have to work, they have to do patrol. We have Marine officers and, patrol officers that are here every day. But really quickly identifying what staff can telecommute, which, putting together a new policy, getting people the tools they need so that they can work remotely and then continue to support the mission of the department. And having that kind of executive support immediately is huge when it's something new. When you have something you've never experienced before, being able to pivot quickly and understand the impact to your employees from a personal level, from a family level, and then making sure they have what they need, the ability of them to come support the mission is amazing. I've seen people turn on a dime quicker than I've ever seen in my career, and it's been it's a great place to work.
Someone's asking what inspired you to join this field in particular, especially now with everything that's happening around the world. What qualities do you think are essential to thrive in your field?
Flexibility, I think, is key. Is understanding that things can change on a moment's notice. Understanding that you might be called out to respond if you don't have the ability to respond and to leave on a moment's, right away if there's an emergency. This might not be for you. This is a very It's a fast-paced, but sometimes not fast-paced. So every day is something new. It requires the ability to write. Writing skills are essential. Being able to speak, being able to train your employees, being able to network and understand the value of continuing networking. This isn't a single man show ever. This is, it's 1, 2, 5, 20 people built with a network of, hundreds of communities and agencies and responders around you. So being able to tie that all together is key. For me personally, I come from a very military family, so being able to integrate into a sworn and a responder environment was very comfortable for me. But we have individuals who they thrive on the nonprofit communities, and it's the same understanding of language and needs and applying that to the mission at hand. So it takes a combination of all kinds of folks to get the job done. But at the end of the day, again, it's serving our communities. It's that midnight fire, getting families, back into a safe place, getting our businesses back up and running, and getting your agency, moving in the direction that it needs to go.
Well, we all know how hard it is. I don't because I'm retired, but how hard it is for people that are just coming out of the educational system or are in their first 10 years out of that system to look for work and to get their careers moving. And so I'm asking you if you could share what are the types of positions that are not like faltering, that are what, organizations like yours or every city. I mean, there's going to be emergency management at every level of whether it's a small community, a city, a community, to the port, to the airport. What are the types of jobs in this environment that you would encourage people to look into?
So the term emergency manager has been around for a long time, but there's also contingency planners there, and there's the Association of Contingency Planners. There's crisis management, there's security, and I think all of those combined is when you start getting into it. But it's finding out where you are and if you're willing to locate, and whether through LinkedIn or through Facebook or other job seeking publications or platforms, is if you tell people you're looking for a job in this field, and whether it be entry or an advanced, is looking for that and doing those searches. And I think it's hard now because agencies, they don't quite know how to bring you into interview, to vet you, so it's this past 8 months has been new for everybody. But emergency managers, that's a job that's going to continue to grow, whether it be with a local city, whether it be with a nonprofit, or whether it be with a business. All of the businesses, they're required to have emergency plans or building plans, so it's a good entry in. But they have an emergency management office at the state. Many states, I think most states, have a formal emergency management office through FEMA. FEMA has volunteer programs, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, where you can get experience, you can be deployed, you can support an active incident, and that's good experience to get on your resume as well. If you can understand how the role of FEMA versus the role of the state versus a local organization, we all have very different roles. And if you can somehow study and capture that, and then be able to articulate that you understand that, you become an asset to an agency almost immediately.
That was very informative in terms of helping them figure out other ways to get to that point in terms of just being able to do some of the research. What are some of the entry-level positions that would get them in the door? And because that happens in any industry. It's sometimes you need to get your foot in the door, and then
Yeah, and I think for the city of Los Angeles, we're unique. We have 45,000 employees, 40 departments. And so those entry-level positions, they're posted on our Personalis website. And again, if you're in the organization, you have access to knowing when exams are coming up, and you can, contact people and study and prepare. But if you're trying to get into a different, whether it be the county or the state organization, is asking people, where are the jobs posted? How do they share them? And never be afraid to take, in government especially, an exempt position. And those are, you don't have to take a list. You have no protections from a civil service perspective, but you're in the organization then. And then you have information on how to then apply for and get ready for one of those other positions. And if you're in a position where you can change, then that's amazing for you. You can then, you can relocate, you can get a different classification, and move along. But I think every agency is just a little bit different. And it's, having the stamina to keep applying, keep interviewing, keep going back and finding out, who's got the jobs, and don't take it personally. If they don't pick you, it's not because, that they don't like you. It's you, again, go back to Featherstone. Thank you, Jan. Is that you hire to the mission. So when I have a position and I'm trying to hire someone, is I'm looking for somebody to do that job. I'm not just picking somebody. I have a mission I have to accomplish, and so you hire to the mission. And with that, you're looking for a selected skill set. So you might not have that skill set today, but after, interviews, ask them, what are you looking for? What do you think? What skills should I build up? It's a little bit of humble pie, but it's, asking what didn't I have that I needed? And they might just tell you, it's just not, I was looking for something else. I was looking for somebody for a specific license and that kind of thing. But it's an ongoing process to build up that resume.
And you have to dig and find out what the job is.
Yes,
because sometimes, as I've interviewed before, and you know this too, is they come in, but they don't even really know what the job is.
Yes, and I think what's interesting too is, and I've shared this with one of my colleagues, is that when you get a little bit further in your career, when you start off, it's an interview because you really need a job and you want this job today because you have bills and everything else. But as you move along, it's a two-way interview.
Yeah.
It's so nice to get to the position where if you're interviewing, you're also, as the candidate, you're interviewing them because you now know the type of agency and organization that you want to work within. And so making sure it's a two-way good fit is, you're very lucky if you get to that point in your career that, you know what you have and the skills that you can bring, but you have to know you're in an organization that you can work with and you enjoy it. I enjoy working. I love what I do. I find it very rewarding, but I'm in a situation now where I'm very fortunate, and I work in a great culture. I work in a beautiful building, and I'm putting product out that people really appreciate. And boy, that makes a difference. That is just such a rewarding experience.
Now, Anna, someone's asking, how much is an MPA weighted in this field? Is it more valuable than experience in that field, or is it necessary to move forward professionally in emergency management?
I don't think the master's is as heavily weighted right now. An undergraduate is pretty much required, so that's good. But I think a lot of people are really looking for hands-on experience with an actual event. So if there's a way that you can find out and read reports and understand what an agency went through, I think that is really important. And then if to continue your education throughout your entire career. So once you get the job, it doesn't stop. You don't just stop learning. And if you're in an organization that will help pay for a degree as you keep going forward, or FEMA has those advanced programs to allow you to go through. Harvard has an amazing advanced opportunity for crisis leadership, as does the Naval Postgraduate School. So as you continue throughout, you never stop learning, definitely. You never stop reading. and gathering more information. But to start off with a master's right off the bat, I think experience is a little bit more important.
Kenya, can you share a little bit of what is the Southern California Women in Homeland Security?
So the International Association of Emergency Managers has a subgroup, Women in Homeland Security. The East Coast has had one for quite some time. And the West Coast Homeland Security, we created one almost 3 years ago now. And this is a combination of women in Homeland Security. So from the public and the private and the nonprofit, with the, support from the private sector, hugely some of our membership and past board members is bringing people together with like missions and building that network and offering mentorship and offering help and information and recognizing the work that's been going on for many years now. And it's not exclusive to women. We have a lot of male members and businesses that are owned and managed by men. But I think the focus was really to provide that support mechanism for women who are trying to get up and running in this industry. It's unique, right? It's when you're dealing with the badges and the bullets every day, it's unique, and you have to be able to help and understand and find that network of people who can help you and build you up and encourage you and help you navigate that. Not a port pun, but it works here.
Yeah. So was your involvement with the Orange County Sheriff's Department kind of what led you to get more involved with that organization, or is it?
That was many years ago. That was, I want to say in the very early 90s, and that was pre 9/11. So it was emergency management at that point, and those organizations didn't exist, and so we just built. Orange County had an organization, OCMO, that was just a business group that met in support of the county, and we built friendships. And as those individuals left the county and started different careers, some of these other ground up movements started, but that was many, many years later.
Would you recommend that some of our listeners look into this organization and maybe join as volunteers, or is it more of what kind of a group is it made up of?
The Women in Homeland Security is it's just a network of professional women. There's a small fee to join, but we do webinars similar to this where we bring in people to talk about their experience on current events. We just had one last month on COVID and what's happening. So we have access to experts in the field who can really, answer those questions that maybe are not printed as clearly in some of the publications that are put out. So you have direct access to your peers across agencies across the country. And that's hugely valuable right now.
Okay, so it sounds like a group that it would be good for some of our listeners to check into.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for everyone as well, I know you brought up, and thank you, the Earthquake Country Alliance. So everyone can become a member, and it's by membership. There's no fee, there's no anything, and you're becoming involved and engaged in earthquake preparedness. So we're still all living in earthquake country. And October 15th, we're going to be doing that drop, cover, and hold on drill. Now we might be doing it here virtually, so now you see me, now you don't, and then I come back up, but earthquakes are a threat. We've seen, Dr. Lucy Jones is not just a friend, but a mentor for many years now, and she's amazing. And so knowing that earthquakes, they're happening, they will happen, and, eventually in our lifetimes, we may see a catastrophic earthquake on the West Coast. So we have to continue to prepare and know what to do, and, and don't be afraid to go under the table. We have to drop, cover, and hold on. And that's what the Earthquake Country Alliance is here, and they have all the tools and the material for us.
So I guess what we're really trying to tell some of the listeners today is that you've mentioned quite a few organizations that they may want to look at joining for a small fee membership and get involved and listen to some of the online talks, as well as start networking once we can actually get out there and physically network.
That would be great. Coffee talks or luncheons or any kind of get-togethers is, and I think that's one of the things, as professionals, we're understanding how to use these tools better, to do webinars and to, have meetings virtually. But some of our communities don't have access to these tools. And so as we do this and we learn and we get better at it, we also have to understand that we still have to identify ways to reach our communities, to reach out and to find out how to continue to accomplish what we need.
Right. Now, we're at that, we've got about 15 minutes to the hour, and I would encourage anyone to ask any more questions, but I'd like for you to, I don't know if you've talked about everything you wanted to talk about, so I wanted to just let you know that we've still got some time, but.
Well, I think one of the things as people, we talked about, having your mission and, finding out, what kind of job are you really looking for, but setting a professional work plan together. So I know, I want a job, I want to get a job this month or next month, but then what? What is your work plan? So I know with my colleague here, we set down a training plan. So for the next 18 months, I'm not just going to send you to training. Right? There has to be something at the end of it. So at the end of it, what do you want to have in hand to show that our training has been building to something? And so I think that's helpful of people to sit down and say, if your vision is to be the director of an emergency management program in 5 years, what does the path to get there look like? And there are people who have done it, faster or slower. What did they do? And what are you going to do if that's your ultimate goal? Join organizations, professional organizations, whether it be, if they're specific to the field or generic to the Red Cross or others. How can you get involved? How can you first get connected and then get involved in those organizations? Because those organizations, they're active, they do things, they put on events, they do outreach, they do training, and to really become involved in those. And then friendships, and I think not knowing who's on it, but I think through Women in Homeland Security and others, it is so important to have friends, honest friends, who can tell you, you did it right, you did it wrong, you need to dress the part, and to say, what, you need to do something a little bit different. And so we have those personal friends, and and hopefully you have families and people that you can trust in, but you need to have professional friends that you can turn to in times of discomfort, if you will. If you're out of your comfort zone, who can you call to really say, this is happening, am I making the right decisions? Can you help guide me? Do you have any experience? Do you have some language you can use? And I heard something, a silly Facebook video, right? It's sometimes you watch them for the silly, the useless banter that kind of just makes you smile in the morning. But someone was talking about, having people in your circle, right? We've heard that used as you have people in your circle that you can look around and you recognize everybody, but you can't reach everybody and the circle's moving. And so it's more like you want somebody in your corner, that one person who's there with you, that's got your back. Right, that's there to step up for you when you need to, and I just found that very personal and direct. So, you have to do things right, and when you're in your career, especially in government, is that there's an ethics department, and there's commissions on ethics, and you want to make sure you do things right, so that at the end of the day, you can look at yourself, and at the end of your career, you did it right. And you can be proud of that. And that's so important. And I think if you make sure you do that, you'll be very successful in life, not just as an emergency manager, but a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, a friend, a colleague. Keep that and hold on to that, because at the end of the day, that's really one of the most important things that I have found.
Great. And so I know that volunteering, I know networking, I know building relationships from the networking, because sometimes people just network to make the connections, and then they move on. And Can you talk a little bit about the value of, like you just said, of building relationships? Because you've got a team of people that you can always count on, even if you don't see them all the time, right? In your work.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's and you don't realize it, I think, until you're years and years, but people see you and they remember you. And I'll share when I came to the port, I came in and I knew a few people. I have good, relationships with a few people, but out of the blue, I got a call from one of the executive managers, and she reminded me, and she's like, "Well, don't you remember we worked with each other in '95 in this other department?" And I was taken back that she remembered. I remembered her, but it didn't dawn on me that she remembered me from back then. And I was delighted, and it's one of those things that, you never know who's watching, and assume always that everybody's watching. So it's, whether it be on social media, with everything we see, we teach the kids, right? Don't do anything that you can't take back. Whatever it is, don't post it. It's not worth it. On their phones, on their devices, on their Chromebooks, all the things they're using. Well, it's the same thing in your career. Every day when you get up and you leave to go to work, you're on. So never do anything that's going to be a detriment to your career, because somebody's watching, and in 20 years they will remind you. And luckily for me, it was inspiring.
So it sounds like for those that are struggling to try to get into the industry, volunteering, joining some of these organizations, and putting in some, even if it's a non-paid internships,
Yes.
Is the way to go.
Also, yeah, with the budgets and the loss of revenue that all governments are going to be experiencing now, it's going to have a ripple effect. So if you can volunteer for free, even for a couple hours,
yeah.
Or if you can, if you have a connection with an organization for emergency management, say, in a disaster, if you need somebody to come in and volunteer, let me get on the list. Here's my training, vet me in advance, whatever you need to do, so that I can come and I can do check-in at the EOC. I can do whatever's needed. That will really help you.
And if someone from our staff wanted to, they want to forward some of your info to Student Affairs and the ASI group, is there any specific department that you'd like to see students coming from that would be a real benefit in this industry?
We need everybody, really. We need human relations, we need software, we need long-term planners, security, law enforcement. It's, we cover and we coordinate with all of those. So if you have information specific to that discipline, public works and transportation and services, they all play a role in what we do.
Great. We've got a hard stop at 1, so I wanted you to, Anna, just kind of wrap it up with final words to the speakers. To the listeners.
I think this is a great opportunity, and thank you. I know I've looked at some of the other upcoming speakers, and I'm going to be sure I register so that I can hear what's happening with other careers, and maybe I can see, what else I can do, or I can offer, or I can, bring into what I'm doing now. But education is so important, is, continuing to learn and continuing to learn from not just, from the academic perspective, but learning based on what's happening around us every day. Is that, we've seen so much happening in our country and around the world, is that, what can you do to make it better in little steps? Make it better in your home, make it better in your community, make it better in your organization, because, we will get through this, and we'll have to still work together. We have to still plan together and sit and communicate and work. And through, opening and understanding, I think it'll all be better. We can't shut off anybody because of, where they work or what they believe in. So emergency management really brings everyone together, is that we have no power individually. We only have the power to convene. And that's all disciplines, all community, the whole of community, to make sure that we can respond and recover together.
Great. I'm going to turn it back to Noemi. I think we got all the questions answered,
I hope
but
so.
they can also, how can they reach you?
You can,
Besides
through,
LinkedIn.
yeah, through LinkedIn or through my Facebook, or you can put out my contact information, my email at any time. And I'll be willing to take calls.
Great. Okay, Noemi, take it away. Thank you,
Thank you,
Anna.
Anna. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Lucia, so much. Great conversation. And if any of the listeners want to get a hold of Anna, please email us at alumni at csuob.edu, and we will connect you with Anna or look for her on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us. And as a reminder to follow us on social media at CSUOB Alumni to learn about future programs like this. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. And Anna, if